Hello friends, and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick, and today we're going to be checking out something called Oblitus by developer Connor Ullman. This is an action platform with a little bit of a roguelike element to it, and perhaps sort of being marketed as a very hardcore, particularly difficult experience for those that are interested. A lot of people have been making comparisons to something like Dark Souls. I'd prefer to look at it more like an open-world Vulgar the Viking, with a particularly interesting and mysterious art style, as well as perhaps a little bit of Titan Souls mixed in. But of course, they all sort of have different references that bounce off of each other to a certain degree. I want to say, before I get started, I have played about an hour or so of this to get acclimated, and it's the type of game that I think it's a little bit difficult to sum up immediately upon just starting the game and just trying to come to a conclusion. I also happen to have watched Northern Lion's Let's Look At on this particular game, so I saw his perspective on it and sort of his first experiences as he was wandering about it a little. Well, maybe not his first experiences, but early experiences. So I want to let you know, of course, this is not completely first impressions based, but still, I am sort of keeping count of most of the things that I was thinking as I started it up, and I think we'll go along some of the same ground. So before we get into things, let's very quickly show off the options menu. We've got brightness, volume, and, well, sound effects and music volume. Then we can turn on or off full screen, and there's a clear save option, which is actually a little bit interesting to me for reasons that I will reveal momentarily. And of course, we can reveal our credits here just for a moment as well. Fantastic soundtrack, by the way. Really, really lovely stuff so far. Everything that I've heard about it, the audio perspective on it is really, really well done. I think that's just looping, isn't it? And, I really like the art as well in some ways, in some other ways a little less so. But, there's positives and negatives about everything. So let's get started, and we shall see what we get. Alright, so here we are. We have spawned into the starting area. I'm sure you noticed on the title screen there's a little tutorial option. That was pretty much not necessary. It's basically just going over controls and stuff, and we're going to cover that very quickly as well. Controls are pretty intuitive for the most part. There also seems to be, well, maybe a few more of them than I would have expected, but the basic stuff is, basically we're going to be using right bumper to do a jab with our spear, and then we've got a throw on our right trigger. Then we've got on left bumper, that's going to be our shield, and maybe this is another direction where you can make a Dark Souls comparison, because then on left trigger, we've got a parry option, so we can do stuff like that. Then we've got a roll on B, as well as jump on A, and what is X? X and Y don't do anything. So there you go, that's pretty much the controls. When we aim, that's using our right stick, so we can get an angle like that, and then it'll toss it wherever that little gray line seems to be focused. But anyway, let's get into the actual gameplay here. As you can see, we've got a pretty lush, verdant green area in both directions, and there is no real guiding force to start us off telling us what to do or where to go. There's just that little voice that pops up and says, like, hey, what's going on? Come find me. And that's kind of it, and you start off on your quest, which is a way of framing that I really quite enjoy, actually. And from there on, we're actually just right into it. So we're going to learn about combat firsthand. We will get into a number of tussles, many of which will probably result in trouble for us one way or the other, but the general sentiment here is it's all about experiential learning, trying to sort out what works well, what doesn't, where should I go, what should I do, and how this gameplay is even structured is a thing that is not necessarily going to be immediately obvious. I mean, the general premise, as I just sort of went over, is that you're going to be just wandering aimlessly to figure things out. But as it turns out, that's really what you're meant to do. We're going to be looking for basically just upgrades and bosses. And there's a number of bosses that we need to take down before we're able to, I guess, go to what seems to be that place in the middle that we spawn on top of. I believe they want us down there eventually, but, I don't think we're going to get to that point in gameplay just yet. Oh my gosh, what are you? So, the thing I mentioned earlier was that this is sort of a pseudo-roguelike, in that every time you play it, there are going to be some things that change, but in general, like, the overall game still stays roughly the same. Like, you're going to run into some of the same enemies, but the way that the world is structured together might change up a little bit from one time to the next. So this guy that I just fought here, this knight, I haven't actually ever seen before, and he was a little bit imposing. As it turns out, though, I was kind of able to trick him by backing off a little bit, and that's one of my first criticisms that I've found so far in this, and when I was playing it, granted, I did have like 20 minutes of experience from watching Ryan play on his video, but I didn't actually ever, pick up the controller prior to that, and I was able to get quite far on my very first life, because I was playing very slowly and methodically, essentially just trying to abuse the AI, which there's no real reason why there's anything wrong with doing that, to be honest. And as it turns out, there's a lot of situations that the AI simply cannot, like, traverse. Oh, is the knight still alive? Well, I guess this will illustrate my point very well then, actually. So both of these characters, you just kind of knock them down into this pit, and honestly, there's no reason for me to bother them right there. So they're just going to go and hang out, and I can go off in my own direction and hopefully find whatever it is that I'm looking for up here. Pretty much every enemy that I've run into, I've been able to exploit in one way or another, which, I mean, I can't expect every bit of AI to be perfect, but I feel like there's actually a lot of tension lost in the general scheme of things, just because there's so many instances where it wasn't a big deal to fight something. The first and only time that I've died in this was fighting a boss, and honestly, I probably should have beaten that boss on my first try, because it really wasn't all that hard. I just made some stupid moves. And, well, granted, it's not like the game is really at fault in terms of controls. I really, you know, I made those mistakes, not the game. I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with the combat, even after just the first few minutes I was playing. I felt, you know, pretty much right at home with it. The only thing I think perhaps if I was to make a criticism of in terms of how the controls feel is really just that I had a hard time, well, with a couple of jumping sequences, just because I think it's strange trajectory and momentum that you get from jumps. The other thing is trying to angle with the right stick and then also throw your spear with right trigger. It's not that that can't be done, and I think it honestly works fairly well, but I just think it maybe could have been a little bit easier. I don't really know exactly why, it just doesn't quite feel perfect for me. Anyway, as you can see, we're making our way up into these mountains here. Probably worth mentioning the fact that the art style is, you know, quite pronounced. I definitely enjoy the way that things are put together, but I do feel that the animations are maybe a little bit, I don't know, stiff, I guess is probably the way to say it. There feel like there's a lot of elements that sort of feel like a marionette, like on a puppet, just kind of like waggling around. Not that there's so much weight in things involved. And the other thing that's maybe a little bit of a bigger deal than that last criticism, for me, feels like the fact that there's a lot of issues in terms of differentiating foreground and background, in my opinion. I've had a lot of trouble recognizing things that I can jump on and things that I go behind and things that I go in front of. I mean, it almost all blends together in some cases. Like, the contrast on this, whatever we're looking at here, this plank of wood, versus this right here, this giant, I don't know, knocked over piece of crockery or something, and then this brick wall, well, they all have strange senses of perspective and scaling, and then also the lighting on them tends to be very similar. I mean, of course, the very background there, you can tell that's, you know, far behind us, but for the most part, a lot of these elements seem to kind of randomly go in and out of the foreground and background, so I'm not really sure how to feel about that. There have been a couple instances where I actually wasn't sure where I was supposed to go because it just seemed like the only way forward was blocked by something that didn't even appear like it was in my way. And in fact, one of the first things you see if you walk to the right is this kind of big old purple rock that doesn't really look like it's in your way, but is. So I don't know, maybe that's just me, but that's a thing that I've been especially sensitive to since I did map work in Super Meat Boy. I've noticed that was maybe a bit of a problem sometimes. And, you know, I've tried very carefully whenever I've done anything with mapping to make sure that that was very obvious what was in the foreground and what was in the background. I should have mentioned also that there is a UI element here. You can probably tell is the only UI element is your life bar, essentially. And you're probably wondering how that's a life bar. Well, it's essentially just a green orb that'll get darker and change color as you get more and more damaged. Those torches, by the way, these actually will let you light your spear on fire. That's, oh, some of the first damage I think I've taken those first two there. I should probably try and exploit this guy a little bit more. But yeah, that's, I think, one of the reasons I got that Volgar the Viking bit of a reference was the fact that, well, that was the thing that I loved doing in Volgar, also lighting my spear on fire and chucking it at things. It felt a little bit more impactful in that game, I have to say, but granted, the mysterious, enigmatic qualities of Oblitus certainly are their own thing. Sometimes, though, I'm not really sure where I'm meant to be going. I mean, in this case, I'm just kind of exploring wherever it lets me go, I'll go. But there's not really, like, a guiding force in terms of, like, look for this color, look for this element, and then go in that direction. It's just kind of like things just go, and you just follow it. Also, now that I've seen this particular set of templates for level design a couple of times, I feel like I'm kind of starting to get maybe a little bit of a repeating thing going on, where I've seen some of these areas manifest in different directions. Oh, this is actually where I was meant to go the whole time. Just happened upon it. And there's no map, by the way, in case you're wondering. If you hit Start or Select, you just get this pause menu, and that's about it. So yeah, we're meant to find this character here. This is the guy that was hanging way up above that said to come find me. And he's going to give us a little mission, I suppose. He says, another Harbinger, come to ask Mud's help. Oh, do not fool yourself. You are far from the first to visit me here in these eons. I was once powerful and moved beyond the stars. It's a very interesting looking character, honestly. I'm not really sure what the, exactly the reference is. I'm getting, like, little bits of, like, ancient Chinese as well as Norse mythology and, you know, maybe even a couple of other things randomly kind of thrown in. They kind of all do form their own identity, which is pretty neat. But now I'm trapped in this land, powerless to stop its ever-imminent destruction. All right. So there's a thing. We've got imminent destruction coming. I have some little power left, though. Bring me the soul of a giant, the Tyrol. The Tyrol's forest abode is fraught with danger. With its soul, I will bless up unto you the immunity to the burning under. All right. Go there and destroy the forgotten beast below. Okay, so we're basically going to go get our ring that allows us to fall into the abyss in one way to make that comparison. Yeah, you know, I was going to make a Dark Souls reference in there. I had to. Others have tried. Some have succeeded, but all others fail. All right, so I want to know about the ones who succeeded. What did they do after that and then fail? Like, they ultimately all failed, right? Because nobody's done the thing that saved you. I've seen enough destruction. Perhaps you'll be the one to break the cycle forever. Another kind of very Dark Souls-y reference. Cycles. Well, I mean, not that Dark Souls owns the concept of cycles, but they've certainly done a lot of things with, you know, fires and life and darkness and, you know, well, you've probably seen it. Go now and find me the soul of a giant, but know that I have little faith. That's really confidence building. So yeah, basically if you just talk to him again, he's just like, yeah, no, I told you what to do, go do it. So whatever that thing is, seems real angry at me. For the most part, though, I don't have to be too worried about it. As long as I keep my distance, it's not really going to bother me too much. I can kind of just run away from just about everything. So there have been some very mixed reviews that I've seen. I have been looking through some of the Steam reviews on this, and the thing that's really particularly interesting here is that, well, there's no checkpoints or save points at all in this whole game, ever. As far as I know, I mean, unless there's something that I haven't seen yet. If you die, you just start back at the beginning, completely at the beginning, with no progress having been made. And I said when I was looking in the options menu how interesting it was that there is, like, a clear save button. I don't know what that actually means. I feel like this would kill me, wouldn't it? It looks like it's on fire. Yeah, that's definitely on fire. I'm pretty sure I don't want to touch that. So maybe we'll come back later. Maybe that's the way to the burning under, I'm not sure. But yeah, so the thing is, this game, I don't really know exactly how long it is. I've heard some people say it can be finished in 25 minutes or so. But, you know, obviously that's going to take a lot of practice to get you to that point where that's going to even be possible. Because you have to kind of learn your way around all the bosses and all the navigation of, you know, all the different types of monsters, how to react to them. And then you have to actually execute that scenario effectively. So obviously, you know, doesn't mean that much, just that it can be beaten in 25 minutes. Theoretically, you could freaking beat The Binding of Isaac in 25 minutes. That doesn't mean, oh, a whole lot. I didn't actually mean to fall there, because actually one of the only power-ups that I've noticed in this game is there's like a life-up that you'll run into on occasion. I was hoping it was a checkpoint when I found it first. Doesn't appear to be. There is one other power-up, though, and, well, it comes in the form of some sort of, like, feather, or I forget if it's a feather or a glyph or some kind of rune like that, but essentially there's random weapon power-ups that will, well, change the way that you're able to interact with the environment and enemies. And every time you play it, you're going to run into different ones in different places. So it does force you to look around a little bit, which I definitely appreciate. So yeah, there's just like I guess one of the dead other searchers or whatever, explorers that we found. And he'll just give us his health. So let's hop back on down. It's a big old fall. And this should get us most of the way back to where we started. Any day now. I should probably put my shield up. Oh yeah, there's those guys. I kind of wondered, too, I feel like I've seen this happen, but I'm not 100% sure yet. If the characters, when you walk out of the screen, the NPCs, or the enemies, rather, if they all respawn every single time, sort of Mega Man style, I feel like they may, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So this is the rock I was talking about prior. Doesn't that look like it's in the background? I feel like you're meant to jump over this gap, but then you realize when you go to throw a spear at this guy, nope, that's actually right in the foreground. Anyway, these guys are super easy. Shouldn't really be too worried about them. They're a one-shot affair. So let's see how far we can go in this direction. And again, I'll see if I can do my best to mess with the AI a little bit. That's a very strange thing that happens when you get to the top of ladders. You just sort of bound up off of them. There may also be something to be said for doing an air roll, because you might be able to get just slightly more horizontal distance when you're going for a roll. Oh my god, I didn't know you could do that through the freaking wall. That interaction we just had kind of feels a little bit like one of the criticisms that I had, or is, you know, better illustrates one of the criticisms I had, where it feels like things don't really have a lot of weight or permanence. A lot of the edges of things are just sort of cloudy, and I think it's a lot to do with the way the art style is rendered, honestly, that things don't really have sharp edges or solid collision boxes. I mean, you can throw things into other things' heads, and it does mark them that way. Or legs, or, you know, wherever you happen to hit, it does actually hit them, which is why, you know, shields actually matter. But when it comes to collision for things, it kind of feels a little bit vague. Just feels like you've got a big old rectangle around you, and a lot of times things will just run into you, and, you know, that's kind of damage. Most things that hit you are larger than you would expect anyway. I don't really know the best way to approach this guy, so I've just been, like, hitting him in the head with spears. Yeah, alright, so it kind of does the job eventually. I'd love to look down here, but I don't seem to have a Spelunky-style... Oh, what are you? Okay. I don't seem to have a Spelunky-style, like, down look. Oh, I can do an attack on a ladder. I didn't even know that I could attack in different directions. That's good to know. Alright, so we've gotten another one of those characters. Doesn't really help me much, but got him. And what do I do here? Is this... Oh, this is a breakable one. Okay, so see that? That looks the same as the thing you can walk on up above that doesn't break. Oh, there's actually a lot of enemies right here. Fair enough. Well, you know what I say to that? Well, I would say to just run by them. The only thing is these guys are in the way here. Yeah, alright, well, just take that damage then. Whatever. Wait, is that in the way? This is a wall, isn't it? Okay, so this is what I mean. I can't tell what's in the way or not. That second hit was an accident. The first one was pseudo-intentional, semi-intentional. Let's just jump back over in this direction, and we'll keep heading over here. Hopefully we should get to the first boss without too much trouble. Again, granted that I've only played this for about an hour, and then watched about a 20-30 minute video on it, so I really probably shouldn't be as good at this as I actually am, which is kind of calling into question, like, how the difficulty scaling feels in this, because my first inkling is that it feels a little bit too easy, in my opinion. But I can't say with, you know, absolute certainty. It might have been that I just got a particularly easy bunch of spawns. That was a really bad idea, what I did right here. Well, I'm gonna guess these guys aren't really able to do much once I get... Well, let's see what they do. I don't actually know what they do when I get into this position. Oh, are they really that dumb? I just sit and poke them from here, and sometimes I'll actually get through their shield. They don't even attack me. So, like, randomly I'll just get a hit in, but I don't know why. Is that... So the shield wasn't maybe covering the head the whole time, or... And now, see, I can't seem to hit them anymore. Oh, there we go. And then that guy's just doing a little funky dance. Alright, yeah, let's just do one of those. Just kind of, like, skip this. I might just end up screwing myself by walking in this direction. Maybe there's a problem over here, or dead end. Oh, hello. Yep, you just kind of speared yourself on that one. Alright, so this is honestly pretty cool. This part, I haven't actually seen. This was not... oh, I thought that rock was invisible again. Thought it was in the background. This whole underground area, like, this simply didn't render or spawn in the last playthrough I had. So this is like a substantially larger zone than it was the first time I played it, which I think is fantastic and very cool. And by the way, I don't mean to come across super negative if I am. I actually think this game is quite an interesting idea. I don't know what that was. Oh, Fire Spear obtained. That's a Fire Spear. I didn't know. Alright. Should probably stop taking damage now, though. I think I get a little bit of health every time I kill them, maybe? Not sure. But yeah, so there's a lot of really big positives in this game as well. I really like the approach to this. I think it's quite novel. I think there's potential for something really fantastic here. I just wonder how frustrating it is if this game ends up being extremely difficult later on. Because again, right now I don't really find that it is particularly. And then you end up having to play through the beginning over and over and over again in the pursuit of, you know, just getting to a place where you were before. Like, even Dark Souls, as punishing and difficult as that tends to be, by many accounts, is actually quite fair in that they really dole out the checkpoints quite regularly. Probably a lot more than I would have if I was designing that game, honestly. And also I can stab through this surface for some reason, but I can't walk through it. I don't know, it's maybe inconsistency there. You gotta learn a visual language when you're making a game like this. You gotta definitely be able to understand what's available to you as a player and how you can interact with everything. There we go. See, I basically just sequence broke a little bit there. So this section seems to be the same every time. I've always encountered the same grouping of enemies and the same little ascent, because this is right before the boss. So I wonder if this is like a fixed point in time, and then there's a bunch that are variable. Maybe there's like a hybridization going on there. I'm not entirely sure. I should have mentioned also, if you throw your spear, you can actually pick it up if you find it on the ground, which can be kind of handy, I suppose. It means you don't have to wait the whole thing for it to respawn in your hand. See, if you'll just watch it, it'll just kind of teleport back. Or you could throw it and just grab it immediately. Okay, so this scroll right here is one of the weapon power-ups that I was talking about earlier, so we're going to get a random upgrade right now. New enhancement, new enchantment, second attack. Attacking twice consecutively will change the second attack. Oh, cool, so we got like an overhead, like almost like a combo happening now. That's pretty neat. So we're gonna maybe cheese this a little bit. We don't really need to go this way, but this is one option. Having a fire spear apparently kills these plant dudes in one hit, whereas they normally took two. You're probably wondering what on earth is going on the right side of my screen. Honestly, I'd be hard-pressed to tell you myself. These are like liquids. There's just these liquids that show up on occasion. I don't know what that's about, but it doesn't really blend with the art style at all, in my opinion. I mean, I respect the fact that it's very fluid. It's got its own sense of physics about it, but it just doesn't really mesh with this world, in my opinion. Which is, you know, maybe a little bit unfortunate, but maybe there's also, you know, more to this art style than I understand yet. Because, like, the liquid still, as you see it over there on the right, looks pretty normal and does blend with the art style, but then once it turns into these big mercury balls underneath us, I don't know what that's about. Anyway, well, let's go fight the boss, shall we? Pretty obvious what you're meant to do here, most likely. We've got this spear point on its back. I should be in a better position than I was last time I fought him, since I've got flame spears. He's probably going to bring up the spikes. Nope, I misread that attack. And I got spiked too, so I've done the worst of both worlds. And now I've missed on that one. I could actually get killed here. Yeah, alright, I've died. That is what has happened. So, that is one play of Oblitus. I am now back at the beginning of the game. Everything that I've just done, as far as I'm aware, has been erased from time and history, and I will start back at that initial spawn point, having done nothing. So I can now head, well, either way, I suppose. I'm not really sure I meant necessarily to have to go up to that other character that I talked to in the first place. I think I could just go straight for the boss if I really wanted to. And in fact, just for the sake of argument, let's just see what's changed if I go to the right. There's also another question in mind, and you know, if anyone knows this in the comments, feel free to chime in because I'm curious. Does the world stay the same as it's seeded from the first time you play, and then only reseeds itself when you turn the game off? I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing. If it does, it means you could actually learn this world and then start over in a different world every time, but, you know, maybe that's not the way it works. I'm not sure. I think this might be the same, right? Well, let's just get this guy dead, and we'll see if there's just a green floaty dude down in this pit. Yep, there is. I think one of the times I actually found a weapon upgrade in there, too, so I don't know. Things definitely are a bit variable. It's definitely a tricky game to really come to a conclusion on how I feel exactly. There's a lot of positives and a lot of, well, I don't want to say completely negatives, but things that I'm maybe not super hot on in terms of game mechanics. And, you know, I like the concept so much that I think I'm willing to forgive a lot more than I normally would. And then the fact that the art style is, like, it's really pretty and is really enigmatic and interesting and mysterious, and but then there's also a little bit of how it almost impedes the feel of the game, in that there's like a little bit of kind of looseness to the combat, and, well, it doesn't feel quite as, I don't know, there's just an element of it that just feels a little off to me, and I almost can't even put into words exactly what that element is. Maybe someone else who's played this for a bunch more hours will have you know, other ways to describe it. It's not that it's bad, it certainly works, and it does get the job done. I feel like it's tight enough that you can understand how it works, but I feel like at best it still feels a little bit off. Does that make sense? Like, we've been talking a lot about Catacomb Kids and how it relates to Spelunky and visual language, and oh my goodness, I didn't mean to do that. I've never fallen down here before. This might get me killed, I'm not sure. Oh, I can actually walk in this stuff. I didn't realize. Weird. Oh, weird. Okay, so we've actually found like a secret area under here. But so the thing I was trying to put across is that in Spelunky you start out being just basically kind of pathetic at the whole thing because you don't understand, you know, how to interact with the world around you. You don't know how far you can fall before you take damage. You don't know necessarily like what a snake is gonna do when you run into it. You don't know what a bat's gonna do. And then eventually all of that stuff is kind of peeled away. And then eventually you feel like you're incredibly facile with the idea of movement, and everything just feels incredibly fluid and just feels just right. Now, I think to some degree you might be able to achieve that in this, but I think even at best it might still feel just slightly off, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Granted, I've still only got, you know, under 2 hours played in this game, so it's going to depend on a number of other factors how I end up landing on this whole concept, but yeah, that's just my feeling so far. Let's see if I can maybe kill this boss without taking any damage. Yeah, he always does spawn in the exact same spot, huh? And any criticisms about difficulty or anything, like, I'm super into very difficult games. Oh, he just smashed me right away. I really was meant to go back in the left. I think I just need to know when he telegraphs the I'm raising spikes versus I'm about to smash you. And then there's also the red goo, which I don't really know how to react to or what that even does. I thought falling in the blue goo meant I was dead. As it turns out, not so much. Yeah, anyway, that's kind of where I fall on Oblitus right now. It's a very interesting, very unlike a lot of things experience, and it's kind of tough for me to say unilaterally, like, do I recommend this game or do I not? I think you'll kind of get the idea by watching me play it just from that few moments, like, does this feel like something that you'd be interested in discovering more about? And are you the person that's willing to replay the first chunk of the game over and over and over and over and over again, potentially, to make a little bit of progress? Now, I do grant that's going to provide an immense amount of tension if you do actually make it to a further boss than you've ever made it before. But it's going to be on the back of so many deaths and so much, like, kind of wasted time getting back to that point. I'm just not sure if I want that. Like, I don't know if I'm up for that, really. And it's not that, again, that I'm not up for challenges. It just seems like redundancy for the sake of repetition, right? There's not really much that you're gaining from the experience of fighting the same boss and the same first enemies and traversing the same area. Even though it's slightly changed, it's not drastically changed. And even though there's other weapons, there's still your spear. Maybe it'll be on fire, maybe it'll be extra long, maybe you'll get a downward attack, maybe you'll get a charging second attack. Like, these are all things that I know exist in the game, but you don't ever just get, like, a plasma sword, as far as I know, which might, you know, completely change the way that you're interested in interacting with this. If you started it out and it was like, hey, do you want to have a shield, or do you want to have 2 short swords, do you want to have a rapier, do you want to have a spear, do you want to have a great axe, like, basically let you build a character class, that could be interesting. There's just kind of one way to proceed, and it's a very pure experience in that, and I do respect that idea. The fact that you really have to master the one weapon you're given, I think is kind of wonderful, and I think it really does engender the idea of really focusing on what you're doing and paying close attention and really trying to be careful about every movement that you take through the game, and I definitely like that style of gameplay as well. I mean, I've been going on and on about this in Catacomb Kids. It's also, well, it's a lot more forgiving than Catacomb Kids, too. You're probably not going to get one-shotted very often, as far as I can tell, and you always have the option of running away, and you always have plenty of room to trick the AI. But in general, it's just like, how much of the same do you really want to go through over and over again? I don't know. That's the thing, I haven't played enough of it yet to really figure that out. So that's why I'm so incredibly conflicted on this game. It's a challenge that I think I want to take, I just don't know if I'm going to bear out that sentiment over hours and hours of repetition, right? So anyway, I guess that's kind of where I'm going to leave things. I wish I had a more definitive conclusion for you, but I do know a few things, and I did go over a few positives. Art style is very pretty, music style is very pretty, controls are pretty much passable, the concept is well done. Yeah, well, I've been over it. Anyway, I think we'll leave it off at that point. If you're interested in checking out Oblitus, There's going to be a link in the description, as there always is for every game. Go ahead and give it a purchase if you find that is something that you're interested in, and of course chime in and let me know what you think about this concept in general. I'd be very curious to hear your own comments and what you've thought about this game if you've been playing it. And of course, if I got anything wrong in that concept or what I described about the game, feel free to correct me there too. As always, if you enjoyed the game and if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like on it. I definitely do appreciate that very much. Helps keep the series going with positive momentum and lets me know that people are still watching and enjoying what's going on here. Of course, if you're interested in finding out about a new artistic, original, or unique indie game every single day, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That also helps me out immensely. And you'll get every new video delivered into your YouTube inbox or subbox or whatever we call it these days. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and I will see you all tomorrow for another one. Have a great night, everybody.